Well, the most important thing on education is to get the federal government out of it. And the next thing to be, because you won't get all government out of it, and we don't have to, and local government is constitutional to be involved. But the real purpose in a free society is to make sure that competition is legal. You don't ever want to move in the direction which a lot of people in this country would. They would move in the direction to prohibit people from having homeschooling and private schooling. But you know, today, education is something that is out of the control of the government, even though they're trying to, because of the internet. And that's what is so exciting about information and education, free markets, and the ideas of liberty. That's the true education, and that's available to all of us now through the internet.
There's a lot of people who are going to hear this on the internet. What can we do best to support your campaign as all the people on the internet who are going to hear this?
The biggest thing that can be done is, you know, we probably are, and I'll use this word loosely maybe, but we sort of rule the internet. And yet, every time I'm interviewed, they say, yeah, you have a lot of people out there on the internet, but they're scammers and all these things, but you never show up in the polls. So eventually what we have to do is take the support that we have on the internet. So far it's translating into names that have signed up in the campaign. That's very important to get people to get into our website, get signed up, and then form these meetup groups. And this is what's unbelievable. It's almost like the campaign is being organized spontaneously. I mean, we can't even take the credit for it because our office is too small. It's growing so quickly. So that is to continue that, and eventually has to translate into money that we can use to advertise, and then eventually translate into the real vote. I don't know whether they will ever recognize in the polling. Sometimes, can you believe sometimes they actually exclude my name when they do the polling?
Absolutely.
So they do that, but eventually it is going to be straw votes and the real vote in the primary. Then they won't be able to argue.
Amen.
Sir, you were in Aaron Russo's movie Freedom to Fascism. Could you speak on that being a tool for waking up the masses?
Now this is another tool. The movies, Aaron Russo's movie, there are other special movies like that, whether they're videos, DVDs, radio talk shows. There's a lot available to us. We might not have the major networks, but we shouldn't sit around and cry about it and moan about it. It won't do any good. Just go to the alternative sources that make use of it. And personal associations, word of mouth is still, you know, very important. So if our message is right, which I strongly believe it is, and our energy is there, we will overcome the obstacles they put in our way.
I was so disappointed that you weren't allowed to answer the question about medical care, being a doctor in the debates. And my question is, what are some of your ideas on improving medical health care for?
She asked, she was disappointed, and I, of course, was there agitated on the debate. You know, they bring up medical care, and it just happens that I was the only physician up there, and I've had some experience both practicing medicine before the government was involved, since the government's been involved, and maybe they could have asked me, but they did not. Very simply, in a free society, all goods and services should be delivered by the marketplace. And governments make things worse. The extreme would be, did the Soviets have good medical system? Do the Canadians have a perfect medical system? If they did, they wouldn't be coming here because we have still some relative freedom, but less every single day. We've been involved in medicine, the government's been involved since the mid-60s. And since that time, actually, medicine has gone downhill. It's very, very expensive. It's not available. There's too many people falling through the cracks. Everything is charged at the maximum level. And if you're not on some dole or something, they put you on immediately because of the threat of litigation, the fact that government is a third-party payment. Everybody gets paid the most. I practiced medicine one time before government was involved. I worked in an emergency room after I had been out of medical school for 2 years, and I worked for $3 an hour. It was in a church hospital. It was sort of charity work, and nobody was ever turned away. And today, I mean, did you read that atrocious story in LA today? Somebody rang 911, the woman was on the floor of a hospital in LA begging for help, and she died. And this to me is not a result of free markets. It doesn't work that way. Free markets provide great prosperity. All the great hospitals and the great universities of this country were started by churches. and the wealth would be available. And Americans are charitable people, that we have just messed this up completely, and all you hear about in Washington is socialize the whole system. We have a form of fascist system today because the corporations run it. Most of the money goes to Wall Street, big corporations, drug companies. They're the ones who are in Washington lobbying for prescription drug programs and HMOs and all these things. So, you know, what would have happened if 10 or 15 years ago the government took over the project of making sure that every poor person, every person in this country would get a cell phone, and they were going to distribute them. I mean, do you think everybody would have a cell phone today? Yeah, no. No, I mean, they wouldn't have it. They'd be divvying up the contracts, and it would cost 10 times more. It's sort of like FEMA solving the problems of Katrina, you know. It's just outrageous. Now FEMA's down there trying to collect $500 million. Can you believe they gave $500 million away to the wrong people who weren't even in the flood region? So government is not the solution. Freedom is the solution.
What do you think about our troops? Did they should be pulled back home or to stay?
For what?
The troops back home.
Troops home or stay?
Oh, the troops. No doubt. We have no business being overseas. We have no business being in Iraq. We have no business putting a nuclear first strike on the table as a threat to Iran. It's time we brought them all home. We could start with Korea. We could start with Europe, and we could finish up and bring them home from Iraq. Move our Navy out of the Persian Gulf. Why don't we put them down in the Persian Gulf and put them down there in the Gulf of Mexico and protect our oil?